This is lesson 5 of unit 2. First, we need to know a few things before we can start talking about introduction to proofs. A postulate is just a fact that describes a fundamental relationship between basic terms of geometry. We always accept postulates as true. Without a proof, we will use them in our proofs. A theorem, however, is a statement that we can prove, and we will, by undefined terms, definitions, and postulates. A proof is just simply a logical argument in which each statement you make is supported by a fact that is accepted as true. There's 2 types of proofs that you can write. We're going to mostly focus on our 2-column proofs, where you'll have one column as our statement, the other column as our reason. You could also write, sometimes when it's asked for it, an informal proof or just a paragraph proof. When you're solving an equation, and you've been doing that for several years, you always use deductive reasoning, but we must accept the following properties to be true. So we're going to talk about a few postulates that you've been using, but now we're just giving fancy names to it. Today we're only going to be talking about algebraic proofs. So the first one we have is our addition property of equality, and that just means if you add equal quantities to both sides, then we know our sums are equal. Algebraically, you've been doing this. If I gave you 6x minus 2 equals 10, you would know that you should add 2 to both sides to get that 6x equals 12. Just adding 2 to both sides, this step right here, that is your addition property of equality. Your subtraction property then is just subtracting equal quantities from both sides to make your differences equal. So if you're given 5x plus 2 equals 17, just subtracting 2 from both sides gives you 5x equals 15. That is your subtraction property. Underneath both of these, you see that you have it in terms of segments. But if you know that AB is equal to DF and BC is equal to CD, then we know that AB plus BC equals DF plus CD, since they are equal. Same thing with your subtraction property here. For multiplication property of equality, it's just multiplying both sides by the same thing. So if you had x over 2 equals 5, you would know to solve for x, you're going to multiply both sides by 2, and you get that x equals 10. In terms of angles here, we see that if the measure of angle ABC equals the measure of angle XYZ, then 2 times the measure of angle ABC equals 2 times the measure of angle XYZ. Multiplying both sides by 2 is your multiplication property. Division property is if you just divide both sides by equal quantities. So 4x equals 20. If you divide both sides by 4, you get that x equals 5. In terms of segments, if you divided 2 segments that we know are equal by the same thing, then that's your division property. Last one's distributive property that you should know. In this case, you would distribute your a through. If we had numbers in a variable, 3 times x plus 2, you would distribute your 3 and get 3x plus 6. All right, we are going to write our very first algebraic proof. The first thing that you always do for a proof is to write your given. Your reason is because it's given to you, and then you write whatever is after the given. So you have 2 times 4x minus 10 equals 3 times 2x plus 4. And now it's just think about how you would solve for x. So notice that we want to prove that x equals 16. So you would know, even if it weren't in a proof, that you are going to distribute your 2, and on the other side you would distribute your 3. So we would have 8x minus 20 equals 6x plus 12. Your reason is your distributive property. Okay, now when you look at your equation, we want x's on one side. So you would probably subtract 6x, subtract 6x. So your next statement would be 2x minus 20 equals 12. And your reason is your subtraction property. We're still trying to get x by itself. So next I am going to add 20 to both sides. So plus 20 plus 20, and we have 2x equals 32. Your reason, well, we added 20, so that is your addition property. And lastly, to get x is 16, you would divide by 2. So since we are dividing, it is your division property. Always make sure that your very last step in a proof is what you are trying to actually prove, and it is because it says prove x equals 16, so then we are good. Write down what are your steps to writing a proof and ask a question.